This is the creative inquiry project that I've created over the semester working in my practicum. So, when I was first choosing my student, the first question I had were some of the students that were scoring lower than most that were in the class that I asked my practicum teacher. And there were about 5 or 6 different options that she gave me. So, my next question for her after thinking about it was one that wasn't necessarily getting the extra help that they needed. And the other 4 or 5 had an IEP already, and Amy was the one that I ended up helping with throughout the semester. And she did not yet have an IEP, but I know throughout the semester there were about 3 or 4 times I'd come in the morning, and her teacher would be with her parents and having conferences, just concerned about her academics. So Amy was the one that I worked with through the semester. And I got her map scores, and when I was reading it, it was above average in both phonological awareness and vocabulary, which kind of confused me on how she was so above average, but yet she was one of the ones needing help and in the process of possibly having an IEP. So I spent the first week or so just working throughout the different things that the teacher had for her that the other students were working on, just to kind of see how she's reading, the different problems that she may be having. And one thing I did notice is that the test doesn't necessarily line up exactly with how they're working in the classroom. That's one thing that I learned throughout the semester, which is going to be very beneficial in being a teacher. And so the first thing that we worked on was a worksheet that had different words, and it would have pictures with it. And I know a lot of times going through, she mixed up her B's and her D's, and she also mixed up her M's and N's. And there were a couple others, like her S's, her X's, a couple Y's. And one thing that I did notice is that through this picture worksheet, she relied heavily on the pictures rather than the words. One an example, she said bee instead of sting. And so we went on to the worksheet without the pictures, and Amy struggled with that. She said stung for stunk and thug for fun. And those were just 2 examples throughout that worksheet. So, week 2, I decided to bring some vocabulary words, ways to work with them. So, the words were sink, wink, lend, send, run, bug, fast, past, of, and who. And each week they have different sight words, and it was eat, know, of, under, who, and fast. So what I would have her do was look at the word and say the word, and then I would have her spell it with slime that was in a bag, which was really just hair gel and food coloring. And she really seemed to enjoy that. She absolutely loved it. And the third step was be writing it on the whiteboard. And she asked throughout the point if she could just write it in the slime, and we eventually took away the whiteboard. So whenever we did the words without the guidance of the reading the word, she misspelled 4 of the 15 spelling / sight words. And some of the examples, she wrote sin for sink, she wrote sink for send, for run she only wrote RN, and LEID for lend. And Amy bragged about her ability to write the word of with her eyes closed. And throughout practicing, there were a couple times that she spelled of as FO instead of OF. So week 3, the teacher had us work on word recognition. So this was just different sight words that they were going over. And when she took the quiz, she only got 12 out of 25 right. And some of the ones, thing, shall, think, and all, she did not know at all. Want, she wrote wag. This, she wrote is. With, she mistook it for wish. And just throughout it, she seemed to struggle, where it took the full 20 minutes working with her just to take the quiz. So that Thursday, what I decided to do was put these different sight words on strips and play the game Candyland. We would just play it together, and each color represented, there would be a strip of 5 or 6 of the words that she misspelled, misread, and they would be color coded. So, say she pulled a red, one of the words is think. So, I played it with her as it was just me and her. So, one of the things I did, I got the word ship. So, I read ship as ip instead of ip. And she corrected me through it. I was very proud of her. She absolutely loved this game. Maybe the fact that it was a game, but she seemed to be more interested and more into trying to learn how to spell these words and work with them. So week 4, I decided to do a 3-period lesson with SH, CH, and TH, as that's what they were working throughout the couple weeks before and couple weeks preceding. So we went through that, and she seemed to really understand the 3. I went through and I would say th for ch, and she would correct me. So we read through Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, The Little Engine That Could, and 1-2 Buckle My Shoe for just the different things. And I would have her make a funny face, and it was any face that she wanted to each time she got to a word that had the specific digraph in the word. She did very well in finding the words with the digraph. However, I did notice when she was reading, she would read the pictures and she would still slide her finger under the words as if she was reading the story. But every time, like in Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, she got to the ch and chicka, she would still make the face even though she was saying a word completely different from that. So week 5 was the formal lesson for me, and what I had all the students do was create a little reading log about the interrupting chicken. And so on the first one on the far left, it was writing an example of interrupting and how not to interrupt. So she took the example on the top. This book is called Interrupting Chicken, Right, Papa? Which was on the front cover of the book of what interrupting is. And on the bottom, she had no talking during tests. So on the second page, I had them write what they liked about the story. And she wrote, I like when chicken was interrupting, as many of the students did. And so I had them write different faces of what they thought of the story. And she wrote 4 different emojis of how she thought of it. So the first one was kind of the papa at first of how he felt, as she explained to me when I asked her about her faces. And then the bottom one with the smiley face was the interrupting chicken, just being so excited about hearing a story. And the angry face, kind of frustrated face, was the face that was made whenever the little chicken would interrupt. And the heart was her thoughts about the story, and that she absolutely loved it. And one thing noted is she already read the story, as when I first brought the book out, her as well as 3 or 4 others in the same IAP class were saying that they'd already read it. So the results of Amy, I noticed that she grew so much just over the course being with her. It was a very short time, but it was very beneficial, I believe, for her as well, especially for me. One thing that I have still seen is that she still struggles in her M's and N's, but the other ones, after going through the words together, I've not seen her miss and struggle with yet. I've noticed she still likes to read books through pictures, but I'm slowly starting to see her focus more on the words, just on the times in class when we have extra time to read books. I can see her looking at the words and being confused on a word and asking me what it is, rather than just looking at the picture and telling the story through the illustration. And one thing that we do every morning is the Yellow Book Phonemic Awareness. And when I first got there were about 3 or 4 of the higher leveled students that would shoot out the answer and just be on top of it. And I noticed her, as well as the others that were struggling more with that, would not really say much, but just throughout the semester, I've seen her grow more and more, and she would just be more able and more interactive and just saying the answers. I know there were a couple times she would be the only one to answer. I was very proud of her for that. And just writing words, she's grown so much in. She sings the songs the teachers made, like see it twice, say it once, see it twice, say it once, see it twice, say it once, double final consonant. And a lot of times at the beginning she would come up and she'd ask how to spell a word and write it in her writing dictionary. And now it's not necessarily that she's spelling every word right, but she's more independent of herself and she's able to think to herself, what are these phonemic things that I've been taught, and how would I spell it? What words, what sounds do I hear to be able to spell this word? And she's just grown so much, and I'm very proud of her. I'm excited to see where she's going to go from here.